Miriah, why don't you tell us your story that you'd like to share today?
Okay, this is one of my favorite stories to tell, actually. I think it's really funny. Some people might think it's sad, but that's up for interpretation. I think all good stories are.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a very evangelical, fundamentalist, Pentecostal church.
Yeah.
And I had a great experience with it as a kid, I would suppose. I always carried around these notebooks, and years later I asked my mom what I was writing in these notebooks as an 8-year-old kid, and she told me that I was writing love letters to God, that she would look through this notebook and that's what I was writing. So I was like, interesting. Okay. So we would interpret our dreams and use concordances to do that, and everything that happened in life had meaning, and it was interpreted kind of as this struggle against good and evil and God and Satan. So when bad things happened, it was defined as, well, Satan is trying to get us down and prevent us from living our faith. And when good things happen, the Lord was smiling upon us. Very Old Testament. So I was in college, and I was studying philosophy and history and learning critical thinking skills, and still driving to my house, my home church. So that was like 3 hours away on Sunday mornings, trying to reconcile, I guess, this idea of the faith that I was raised in and this new way of understanding the world. And things were starting to fall apart. One of the first clear instances that I have of remembering that is in church we were talking about the fall of Satan. So it's this story that I think a lot of evangelical Christians know, or I don't know who all knows it, honestly, but the idea is that Satan was Lucifer, and that he was trying to climb to ascendancy and take over the heavens, and that he was cast into hell. Right. And I think I was trying to look it up before I came here. I'm pretty sure it's Isaiah 14. And so I was really excited that we were going to talk about that in church this day, because I was like, this is a big story, and I want to know all about it. And I was really disappointed because there's actually no mention of Lucifer or Satan in the verse. And I was like, this seems weird. So I pull out the concordance and I'm trying to look for references of Satan in the Bible. I'm like, wow, how much of what I've been told has actually been made up, and our faith is supposed to be based on this book that isn't really matching up with what I'm being told. And so I continued to just sort of backslide, even though I was fighting it. And one of my last attempts, I was like, you know what, I'm going to get baptized. This is going to be a magical moment for me where things will just change. Like, this is going to be my big effort, my grand gesture. Right. So I was 21, and I went to my home church, and we show up that Sunday, and I just start bawling. I sat in the pew and I sobbed hysterically throughout the whole service. And after the service, we went to this river that flows behind my church, and we all are getting ready, and I walk in with my pastor and my assistant pastor, and we're on this big rock in the river, and this swift current comes right down the river, and they're getting ready to dunk me, and all three of us go under. And we sort of stagger up, and they're like, all right, you're baptized. So my favorite interpretation of that is the weight of my sin was so heavy that I brought down these poor men with me. But after the service, this man came up to me and he said, I felt it on my heart that God wanted you to have this message. And this is very indicative of the faith that I was raised in, that everything is a message or a sign, and that we're sharing these. So I'll go ahead and read this for you.
Yeah.
So the date of my baptism apparently was June 26, 2011, and here's what it says. The burdens and sorrows that have been placed upon your shoulders, weighing heavily upon you, the Lord has asked you to take these and your cares and fears and cast them without care at His feet. Leave them there for Him to carry, so you may walk forward from this day free in the joy, peace, and thanksgiving of heaven. So I still don't quite understand what this means. I've had different understandings of it since I read it back in 2011, but I am just trying to live that life. I mean, to be honest, I don't go to a church. I have very conflicted feelings about faith and church, although I do feel like I have a very strong abiding belief in God and that there's more to this life than just the people living here. But I am trying to not carry a bunch of burdens and weight and fear along with me, so maybe I'm living this out. I don't know, but that's my story.
That is so great. Thank you so much for sharing. That was a great story.
You think so?
Great story.